Hello and welcome again to PlaymakerTV episode 17 this time. We move, as one would say. Jesper, it's hot in Sweden and we like to talk about the weather here, especially when the weather is like this. I know you have been out for a run. And this is the thing.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you are like me, but I'm like when it's getting hot, like in Sweden, I usually take up my running because for some reason I like to run when it's really hot outside. How about you?
Yeah, it's definitely easier to go out running, and I think in the normal case I run less in the winter. Yeah, just because it's colder and less motivating. But this year I'm running a marathon in 1.5 weeks, so I've been training since before Christmas. So I've been running an equal amount almost for half a year. So now's the difference. So.
Yeah, you're in better shape than I am. I can
hope
tell.
so. I hope so.
I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get back with my average pace per kilometers at the end of the summer. I promise.
Sounds good.
So yeah, moving on to what we are here for. It's the end of the season, especially out in Europe in the big leagues, and we are entering a window, I would say, where players will move clubs or extend their contracts with their current clubs or whatever. And what I find very interesting about the women's game, obviously, is that there are many players out there that will be free agents, as we call them. This is something I think I actually sort of thought about this a little bit the other day because for one reason I do think that players in the women's game probably don't sign the long-term deals as we can see in the men's game. Is one thing could be the fact is that the women's game is developing massively all the time, so what you sign today is a market that could be completely changed in 2 years. And when you know that, you don't want to be stuck in a long-term contract. Maybe, I don't know. What do you think about that thought?
Yeah, I've heard the same from agents that the market has been rising so much, and I guess especially before the inflation period now. But I guess it's still moving up. But and in that case, it's hard to expect like what's a good salary, and especially like more than 2 years ahead. So I think if you get a talented player for 3 years, it's a great contract.
Yeah, and also the game itself. Like if you go to one team, it could play one type of football, and then you develop it and bring in new players, and then the football itself could change as well with the way that you can see that the big clubs need to adapt in order to beat each other, if you know what I mean by that. So
Yeah, definitely. And the power between teams, at least in Sweden, in the lower levels, and I guess a bit the same in Europe, like in Real Madrid coming up and so on, that there are like bigger clubs from the men's side that also starts to put a lot of money in the women and create women's team, and then they rise in the table. So and other teams drop. So also you might be, you don't know in the future how your team's gonna stand. So that could affect as well.
yeah, and I know we must say this as well. There are a lot of players and many good players, world-class players out there that will leave for free this summer.
Yeah.
We couldn't bring them all in to this when we are going to show data from Playmaker on these players, and but we have chosen some of the players that we thought was interesting to dive deep into. So I think we just should start because I'm curious now as well. I know I've been selecting the players with you, but I haven't seen the data for all of them yet.
No. So let's dig into it. Can you see my presentation? Can you see our avatars?
Yes, I can.
So free agents in Europe. That's the topic, and we dive immediately into it. And we'll start with a Swedish centre back.
I can see that this is a typo, I would say, because Amanda Ilestedt is in Paris Saint-Germain.
Oh yeah, I think it's because I copied in between templates.
Yeah, you're forgiven. We just should say that. So if someone
maybe
reacts,
soon
then
she will move
back to Bayern. You mean?
Yeah, and for the when we don't share this one in Twitter, we'll change it before.
We'll change it before.
But good that you saw it. And also confusing with the league typo, since Bayern Munich is not playing in the French league.
Exactly.
But I think one interesting thing about Amanda Ilestedt, if you compare to other teams in Feminin Division, is her build-up stats. So that's the one in the left bar polar and the blue bars. And that's different kind of stats within possession linked to build-up. And then you can see that she's in percentile 95 to 99 in all of them, except for passes shared. And passes shared, it's not necessarily good to have 100%. It's just an indicator of like how much, how big of the share of passes you have in comparison to other players in the league. So she has 65, and that means basically that she's not like the only pass generator in PSG. There's other players that have a lot of ball as well. It's more of an average number. But one thing that is very impressive is that if you see her pass percentage, it's in the 95th percentile. And if you look at the progressive pass percentage here, like the pass percentage from passes that goes forward only, she's in percentile 96. So she's like very successful in moving the ball forward. On average, it's normal that center backs, for example, have a higher progressive pass percentage since they're playing from the back and not like further up the pitch where it might be more packed. But still, if you compare with the shadowed area for an average center back, she's way ahead of the 70th percentile on average. You can
I
also
think
see...
also Amanda Ilestedt is a very interesting player for us in Sweden, because she has been away at the end of the season since she injured her foot in one of the national team breaks. Also, but we obviously hope that she will be back in terms of the fact that we are gonna have to play a World Cup, and she has been on the bench for PSG the last couple of games. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed for sure. Her chance creation is also very high. Chance creation for more advanced listener in this case is like linked to the expected threat she generates from a center back, and that's compared to all players. So it's very impressive to have like such a high number. And her expected threat is generated from more passes with like a good positive expected threat on average, but lower, for example, compared to an offensive winger or so that makes less passes but has a higher expected threat on average. But really good. And I mean, from the defensive stats, when you all these defensive stats are adjusted for possession, and then it's interesting to see that the facts like her tackles and tackles percentage is way above average. Like they're very good in the 92nd and 96th percentile. Also possession recoveries, and that comes from like how she wins the ball, like how she starts possession chain. So basically when the opponent loses the ball on the pitch, like they miss a pass that is intercepted or they lose a duel or something, she's often the one who wins or recovers the ball in possession and starts a successful possession chain after that. So that's a valuable characteristic.
I do think what's kind of interesting is with Amanda Ilestedt and a couple of others, other player that plays as a center back for the Swedish national team, is that they usually have good stats in the build-up and the progressive play part.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously also because many of them play in clubs where the teams, they have a lot of the possession.
Yeah.
Like, if you know what I mean by that. So it's interesting to see that when they play for their clubs, they might have sort of the similar playing profiles. Not necessarily mean that they are the similar type of players when they come into the Swedish national team, but you can obviously see their qualities here.
For sure, and that could be one interesting thing to use the player roles, is to compare within the national team if they have the same role, for sure. And yeah, we haven't mentioned the role here, but we mentioned her characteristics from the KPIs, and she's a playing centre back. So a playing centre back. The description is here, the short one, a centre back that is especially known for her skills in possession and building up attacks from the back. And if you haven't heard about the player roles that we used at Playmaker before, they are determined by a machine learning program that we built. So we have found 20 different clusters for player roles, and then we have put names on them and define them with the helps of coaches and other football experts, and then we use them to put a label on a player, and then we have the AI detected qualities that works kind of the same way, but instead of a player role, they just look at which stats that the player performs the best in comparison to other players. And so you see here pass progressor, and we talked about that, the progressive pass distance and pass percentage. Safe passer, that means that you have a high accuracy in your pass game, that you don't do many wrong passes. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's a player that don't take any risk. It just means that your pass percentage is high, and that you that you are very safe when you deliver the ball. And space switcher, that means that you move. When we see a pitch like this here, you have like, if you're attacking up front here to the right, you can play on the right side, and you have the right side of the pitch that the ball is, or you can play on the left side, easy speaking. So if the ball is on the right side and most of the players are here, and you move the ball over to the other side, so that the half of the pitch that the game is on switches, that's a space switch. And a space switch is something that is very useful, for example, to reduce pressure on the ball and also generate space for players on the other side that can move forward with a carry, for example, and so on. So she's very good in like releasing pressure and moving the ball over to the outside.
I would also say that she looks pretty good in dribbles. And this is going to be interesting now when we move to the next player.
Yeah.
Because now we have another Swedish center back. Here we have a different kind of stat regarding that, which obviously is something one should really take a look at when it comes to Amanda Ilestedt, because that's not the first thing that comes in mind when you think about Amanda Ilestedt. I would say that many of us wouldn't think that.
Exactly, and you could see in her spider that she maybe is not the player that dribbles the most, which is logical also because she's a center back. But when she does it, she has a very high accuracy. Like she's comfortable when doing so. So that's a very nice skill to have. Magda. We have the same spider here. Magda has a similar spider in some sense, that she also is like good in the build-up stats, and that's how she's used in Chelsea. She's a motor. She's a leader as her avatar. Like so a leader is a defender or a balancing midfielder that is important for a team, both in possession and defense. So it's a player that can do both and do very useful things in defense as well as in build up. And you can see in her defensive spider, for example, that she's a very good chance stopper, and that means that she's good in preventing attacks when they come into the danger zones, as the penalty area, golden zone, and so on. And as we know, she's also very good in the air. And if you look at her pass qualities, you see here that she has both defensive and offensive qualities, well as Ilestedt's primary qualities compared to other players was more offensive qualities. But here you have pass progressor just as Ilestedt had, but you also have longer passes, and that just means that she's very successful in reaching other players when she goes for the longer pass, and she has a high accuracy in that. So the longer pass in between lines and so on. And Chelsea plays more direct than other top teams, and she gets to play these long passes. So I think that it's part of defined in her qualities, but also in the way that Chelsea wants to play, and that she's an important key in that sense. What do you say?
Yeah, I would say that, but what's also interesting, because I actually was discussing this with another person the other day, is that it was quite obvious from this season, when this season started, there was, you could get a sense of the fact that Emma Hayes, her preferred center back pairing was Millie Bright and Khadijah Buchanan.
Yeah,
they have not the same qualities in the build-up and attacking as Magda. And then Magda was played as the left fullback in a back four, and then obviously in a back three as well. But you could see that I would say that if we were about to compare Magda's role and stats to her previous season in Chelsea, I would say this season I'm even more impressed by her in a way, because she had to adapt into something that probably was already there when Millie Bright and Khadijah Buchanan got injured.
Yeah.
So you can see her progressive play, I would guess, have been better the other seasons.
Yeah, I know they have. Like, she's been a better percentile. Her last season and the year before that was really top quality in Europe. And then otherwise, I think in the heat maps here you can see also like the different clusters from her when she's played more of a center back and a fullback, wing back. I think like you have the more offensive cluster and the more defensive, and here you have that. I think this comes a lot from the air duels, that she's very successful defending in the box when she has to, when Chelsea is forced to play low. You see that, and same in the offensive one, really. Like
and we could just add to this. This is obviously still rumors, because nothing has been confirmed. With Amanda Ilestedt, it looks like she may stay in PSG, but Magdalena Eriksson looks to switch league and country to Bayern München in the Frauen Bundesliga, which is a very interesting move for Magda, I would say.
Definitely.
I think from seeing, because I also have a feeling that her defensive stats have been better this season than maybe the last season in Chelsea, because of the role. Like, it's nothing about that she is bad at anything, just about the role she's been having in Chelsea. But I do think that obviously in Germany it may be a little more, I mean, obviously people say that the WSL is a physical league, and it is, but I do think German football is maybe a lot more about the fact that you need to be in the right position from the get-go. Otherwise you will be hurt by your opponent.
I agree. Okay. No, wrong. So we move on to another interesting player.
Who is rumored to Magda's soon-to-be old club, Chelsea.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to see where they're going to play her. You can see in the heat map here that she's been playing both to the right and the left, mostly to the right. So yeah, how they're gonna use her, and like her offensive spider is so wide. Like she has some percentiles that she reached into the 90th and above, but she's like above average in almost all of them, and like is very. I mean, she's used in so many different ways. The only one that's are not really showing is the target or the offensive play, but that's kind of logical. And defensive wise, she's very good in the offensive defensive play for sure, and also like just in like she's hard to dribble past and so on. So a great player. I think that one thing that's interesting about the avatar here is that the avatar that is shown here is just the primary match. All players get an avatar match, but they're more complex than like a player is not necessarily like 100% match to one. It's more difficult than that. So they have a match on all of the avatars, and we get like a percentage divide, and we show the premier one. But Ashley Lawrence she has a very high match on the progressor as well. So she's like a hybrid in between that. She's very good in taking the defensive responsibilities, but also acting offensively and as a wide playmaker. So I think that's something useful for Chelsea also, that they can use her in like different games. They can use her in different roles.
I do think looking at Chelsea, this is actually one of the fullbacks that they probably have been missing the last couple of seasons, because they play a very attacking minded football, but you could see that I mean, obviously fullbacks also have different roles and qualities, but it's rare to see a fullback being good both ways. Like, obviously many players are good both ways, but you know what I mean, like really has the quality of in both the defensive part of the game and the attacking part. I actually do think that this is one of my favorite fullbacks in the market right now.
Yeah, and I mean, I also know for a fact, I don't have it in like this picture, but I also know for a fact that she's one of the best rated players in the world on the women's side, like compared to her playmaker rating and grade. So yeah, she's a top player.
Congratulations in beforehand, Chelsea.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to the best player in the world.
Yes.
No, but could very well be a personal favorite. If you watched this before, you know that I like Una Batlle. And
how can anyone not like Una Batlle?
I don't know.
Saying
I don't know.
It can't be, because this is like I do think I actually tweeted it today. I know football is a team sport. I know that, but the influence and the what this player has added to a club like Manchester United, and the role she actually plays in their just the way they play. I do think that it's going to be hard for Manchester United to fill a gap after her, because today it was practically reported that it was clear just a signature is needed before she goes back to Spain and FC Barcelona.
Yeah, I mean, she's irreplaceable, really. Like you can't believe really that you can replace her. I think like she acts as a fullback, she acts as a winger, like she takes so many roles, and she's a complete player. So that's the difficult part, just knowing that she's irreplaceable, that you might need to change tactic or like just agree on the fact that right now it's not going to be possible. And I think that has to be hard. And I mean that she's so good in the defensive stats as well as the offensive. Like you have fullbacks that can be having a similar season offensively like Una Batlle has, but it's rare that you have also like 4 defensive KPIs where you are top 10%, like in this manner among all players. And you see that on her like she's as Ashley Lawrence, like her premier one is the progressor, since she's that offensive, but she's also very hybrid. Like she has she has the qualities of being a defensive minded player as well, and that's super cool. And you see that on the like her primary qualities. You see also like from intercepting passes, key player playmaking. Like she's the most important playmaker of her team. That's why she gets that. And also the playmaking passer just means that her when she's doing the playmaking actions, generating chances, she mostly do so from passing the ball forward. So that's really what that means.
Yeah, it feels like she could be. I mean, she feels like a hybrid between a number 10 and a fullback in some way, because of the role she plays in her team, the attacking minded parts and everything. Yeah, I'm very curious about how Manchester United is gonna react, and in terms of how they think about replacing her. I know you have an idea for that. We're gonna
look at that.
We're gonna
later.
save that for last. It's very interesting, though.
Okay, we move on to another Swedish player, Filippa Angeldal.
We love the Swedish players here.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Go Sweden. No, but I think that you also can see from her spider that she's very on average. So like she has the potential to have an enormous offensive spider if she gets to play maybe more in other system. But she has the box-to-box qualities. She also has the regista or playmaker qualities. So I think this could be a very good match. I hope that she moves to a team where she gets to play day in, day out. And I don't have a good suggestion of what that could be, but I would like to because I think Filippa Angeldal is one of the best players. If you look back a couple of years in the Swedish national team, I think that she's like one of the best in the national team, and that she also performs on a high level on average. Like she's very reliable and trustworthy, and like I want to see that in the club level as well, and what I saw in Häcken, but somewhere else. And so
it's going to be interesting now, because she has been playing a lot for Manchester City the last this season.
Yeah,
but I do still have the feeling that we haven't seen the best of Filippa Angeldal in Manchester City yet.
No.
Could be that they don't play like to all of her abilities, because like you said, in Sweden you can really rely on Filippa Angeldal in some ways in Sweden. Obviously in a club and a team like Manchester City, there are a lot of good players that could take responsibility, but something just feels that we haven't seen the best of her there yet. So maybe that could like imply that she is actually gonna extend with them. But let's see.
I hope so. Okay. Another player
Another Scandi.
That has had, like, she's had a tough injury and she hasn't played a lot this year. But so these spiders are based on like between 500 and 600 minutes. I don't remember exactly. And I mean, when she's played for Chelsea this season, it's very easy to see what she contributes with and how good of a player.
Quite good.
And I mean,
I would say.
If you put her in the mix of all other players and her average, like she has 100 on free, so like she has and I mean, and it's also kind of amazing that if you remove penalties and you compare to all other players, and this is like forwards as well, she has the highest non-penalty expected goals and the highest non-penalty goals and the best target value from XT received, and like just being being in open space and being playable for teammates of all players. So yeah, that's amazing.
This spider just like gives you the feeling of what could have been if she wouldn't have gotten injured.
Yeah, and I think that you can see that from we wrote an article on that last year. But one of the things that like I want to have Pernille Harder as a number 10 in here, but you can see that like she mostly acts here out to the right. That's the center.
Still,
and
like
we'll see in Bayern Munich how she what role she gets, but that's where I want her.
I'm thinking that we will see more of Pernille Harder in the central parts of the pitch in Germany again. It's going to be very interesting that as well. As for Bayern München, they have something good going on. It feels like, especially when you sign two players with the experience that I would say that Pernille Harder and Magdalena Eriksson have, because that's also something that should matter if you want to compete at the highest level.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's going to be enjoyable to watch her next season, and we'll see if it's Bayern Munich. So let's move on to her replacement, probably.
Yeah, probably a probable Pernille Harder replacement from one big club to another, from Lyon to Chelsea.
Yeah, and I think like if you just look in the top right corner here on the offensive spider closely while I switch page, they're quite similar, right?
Yeah.
So this is from last season due to the fact that she's been injured, but you can see that she adds a lot of finishing qualities, but she's also very successful in dribbles and when it comes to chance creation from especially passes, but also carries and dribbles. And she has the cross quality, and that's one thing that Pernille Harder is I'm not saying that Pernille Harder is less of a player in that sense, but she's used maybe less when it comes to crosses than Macario has been. So that's a different add-on. And if they're going to use her as a more out to the left as Pernille Harder has been used, maybe it's a better fit. I don't know. Or who is a better fit than Pernille Harder? But I think it could be a good fit. I also think
this is very interesting now. If you look at the heat maps, they have been playing in different clubs. Like Macario has been playing for Lyon and Pernille has been playing in Chelsea. But you can see on the heat maps that Caterina Macario has been used more centrally than Pernille Harder has been.
Exactly, like she's been used how I want Pernille Harder's heat map to look at, kind of.
Yeah.
And you can see that she defensively has had more of a. She's maybe used in different games, but she's been used more all over in a different way. But yeah I mean, that's interesting, and it's gonna be interesting to see in the future if she's gonna have a similar heat map in Chelsea as Harder has, like if that's gonna be the case. I don't know.
Because this is very interesting, like because of the fact how Chelsea plays when they have a forward like Sam Kerr.
Yeah.
Obviously, also someone, because I do feel that what Chelsea, what they have missed, but they have with Pernille in one way, is someone that could link up play, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And their play mostly like happens down the left hand side, where you have another great player, Guro Reiten.
Yeah.
But that's when you get this. So, but it's like you say, with the Caterina Macario's crossing abilities, it could work out pretty well. But I didn't actually realize it. But when you said that this is what you would want Pernille Harder's heat map to look like in Chelsea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think
we can be honest about that now, because
one thing that I think is interesting here, that's one of her best qualities as well. I don't know, you know that better, Mia, like how that could fit Chelsea and if she will be used in that way. But she was one of the best set piece creators in the French league in 21-22. And what's a set piece creator? That really means that you're good in converting corners and set piece crosses into chances. So like you're good in like finding a player in the space passing or crossing the ball hard enough. Like so, basically, your set pieces generates chances, and they do that in a very high frequency. And that's like, I mean, a big percentage of chances in football come from set pieces, but I don't think always that they are used that much, like that all the coaches realize that. So I mean, that's just an extra quality to have. For example, in the Champions League, if you need something, you get a set piece cross far out and you have a chance to equalize. Now I don't know if that's, I mean, they have a lot of good foots in Chelsea, so I don't know if she's going to be used in that way, but they have another set piece quality player here.
I do think that this is an interesting question, because of the fact is that also, if you want to compare her to Pernille in one more way, is that when Pernille joined Chelsea, she was being used as she often took care of the free kicks in Denmark. And I'm sure if one want to go on YouTube, you would find a lot of good clips when Pernille Harder takes good free kicks, ending up in goal. But when in Chelsea, she hasn't been taking care of the free kicks at all, I would say. So yeah, it's going to be interesting that way, because it would be interesting to see how much of a free kick Chelsea has had that hasn't ended up straight into goal.
Yeah.
My feeling would say that no, they don't have a free kick taker that has been able to score straight from a free kick. But lately they have been showing good qualities when they get a free kick outside the area, and then someone lifts it in, crosses it in, and then it often ends on a goal chance at least.
Yeah. So that's Katarina Macario. Nice to take a look at. So we move on to
another Swede.
Yeah, another Swede.
Yeah.
And I think actually it's a very, like, I don't know exactly, I don't remember the minutes in person. I would have put them here, but it's something similar. Like from what she's played, her spider also looks amazing. And like, I guess it's always like in data, it's always easier to have a better average when you play less, and also to have a worse average than other players. But still, like when she's played, the impact is tremendous.
Yeah, and Rebecca Blomqvist is a very interesting player, also because she is one of those that left Sweden, she was a great goal scorer in Sweden, and I would probably say playmaker as well, because she made a lot of assists. But since in Wolfsburg, she has never been the first choice as a winger or a forward. I mean, obviously the competition in a team like that is massive, but she did play a full 90 minutes, I think it was, because she started and she scored in the DFB Pokal Cup final last weekend. She scored the 2-1 goal. So I would say that she has a lot of potential, and I hope that she will join a club where she gets to show that and get more minutes that we could look at this data from when next season is over and done with.
Definitely. And I think it's funny that you said, like, in Sweden, she was a good goal scorer, AI detected quality, finishing. She was also like kind of a playmaking passer. And she did a lot of assists, final pass. So, yeah, the AI detected qualities, I'm very proud of them. They work very well.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't even look at them actually before.
No, I know you didn't.
So I was
like, didn't.
Oh no!
But you marked them off.
Yeah.
Now another favorite player of mine, Alessia Russo. And when I talk about
this is an interesting player in many ways, because she has been rumored to Arsenal, to Chelsea.
I think I saw
Lyon.
Yeah, and I don't know if but I think I saw like NWSL rumors like this morning from some posts as well. It doesn't maybe necessarily need to be true. I don't know the source, but I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. It's going to be this player is like hot on the free transfer market, I would say. She could end up staying in Manchester United, who knows? Because Manchester United, we need to actually mention this because they have, for the first time in the club's history, secured a chance to reach the Champions League group stage.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they will get into the qualification. It looks like they will be. I do think that they will end up second in the Women's Super League, no matter what happens behind. They have enough points. Yes, that's correct. They have enough points, so they will be number 2 in the.
They still have a chance to win
win
the league, but they won't do that. But
you never know.
You never know.
You never know.
But I mean, if you look at the offensive stats here that are really the striker stats, like her touches in the box, her target play that we talked about with Pernille, non-penalty expected goals, and like they're all super high. She's generating a lot of chances, and she does so very well. She has the dribbles, the dribble quality, and the crosses as well. Her avatar is like was kind of interesting. I could generate a pie chart of her avatar matches as well, and like the poacher is the primary one, from being like a goal scoring 9 with a lot of the a very high percentage of your actions being chance like shots and with a good conversion rate to goals. That's what a poacher is really. But she also matches the artist very well, and that's just because of her dribbles. And I think that when you watch Russo, like I mean the back heel against Sweden and like so on, like
don't want to remember that
one. I mean, it was a tremendous goal, but I felt horrible when she did it.
Yeah,
it was like I don't know, like the British fans might not enjoy this, but when she did that, it was like a confirmation for me that English soccer on the women's side had like gone past Sweden, and like that I just had to deal with it. And that was going to be like that for a while. I maybe not all Swedes agree on that, but it was just like that was my feeling. Like
when that goal happened, yeah,
and a tremendous player. We'll see where she ends up. Norway.
No, Denmark.
Sorry, Denmark.
Denmark and France. This is a very interesting player in so many ways, because of the fact is that she has been in both PSG and Lyon.
Yeah.
Now she is gonna leave Lyon. And she was the player that scored the goal that gave Lyon another title this last weekend. Also a goal, I would say, is if one has seen Signe Brun play, that's very significant, like coming from a cross and a perfect header. She is perfectly like positioned in the box to do these headers, and she has made them in Denmark as well. And I'm so keen to see if she will be selected for the World Cup, because she wasn't in the Danish squad the last time they played Sweden and Japan.
Oh yeah,
she wasn't. So this is a very interesting player. To me, like when you see a player like that score a goal like that in a game between two of Europe's best teams, like PSG and Lyon, then I really do hope that she will get a chance. And I would also say that she is rumored to go to the WSL. I know that she has interests from a lot of clubs around Europe, though, but it looks like she is going to end up in the WSL. And she has been loaned out to Manchester United. I don't think it's Manchester United she will go back to, though.
Would be a good Russo replacement otherwise. But...
Yeah, exactly. But also, you never know. Could be United as well, but I don't think so. My gut feeling tells me otherwise.
Yeah. Her primary avatar is the target, and a target could also have a very good goal conversion, like you see in her spider. But the target is like, compared to the poacher, the target usually has like a more linking build-up role, where you're like the target endpoint, and you're like part of both like releasing pressure if you're in if you're trying to control, like if you win the ball low and you want to move it up high in a secure way, the target is like a build-up point. But also when it comes to receiving the ball in the box, you can see from her heat map, for example, the offensive one, that it's very centered, for example. So she doesn't really move and run into the outdoor corridors. She's very centered. And the same in the defensive, like she's the end point of the arrow in the defensive play. Okay, the only Serie A or Italian playing player in this presentation, but one of the best graded players in the world right now, according to Playmaker's grading system. And it's easy to understand why. Her spider is Pernille harder size, but she's played more. She also has the attacking star, and I mean that to have the top finishing qualities, but also have the playmaking like qualities as well, is it's very interesting for sure. She acts like, if you compare to Signe Brun on her spider, like she acts all over the pitch.
Yeah, and this player, we would also add that she has been on loan to Inter this whole season from China, and we're not sure how long her contract with the Chinese club Wuhan is. So we don't know if this is a free agent. She should be an interesting player for many clubs to look at, though.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if she's not a free agent, I think she was also like interesting to include, just due to the fact that she was on loan to Europe and Italy, and she's performed in this way. So she should be interesting for any Champions League club, really, if you need a forward. And for that reason, like, she should be worth some money to purchase as well.
Yeah, and the thing is that, well, she has been. I know that she has been saying that she would like to stay in Europe. So it's going to be interesting to see what will happen to her. I do think I find something here, that she actually is in contract with Wuhan. So she will not be a free agent, but let's see if they will give her another loan to a club in Europe, or if she, ends up staying in Inter. Who knows?
Something for Manchester United if Russo leaves.
Yeah, for sure. I do think that I've heard that her GBE points might not be enough.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
Yeah,
That's
because of the the fact is that the UK is not in EU anymore, which is a bit complicated for some players. But
yeah.
This player, the thing is with Chawinga is that she has been great for so many years, and I can't believe that a big club, like a top club that plays in the Champions League, hasn't just hooked her up yet. I'm not sure where this is a player that kind of have been moving around under the radar for so many people. I'm not sure how they could have missed her, but here we are.
Okay, last one. So I'm going to explain. We had Una Batia, and I said that they can't replace her. And I still agree on the fact that they could replace her, but they can't replace. It's very hard to replace like that kind of quality. But if you would do a try, you can still find a player that is similar to Unabatier and might be able to develop into something similar, or be able to provide and play in a similar role, but maybe not have the same quality, but good quality enough, and it could go into that potential. So the fact is that we already have a virtual scout on our old platform that we use right now, that my colleague developed from some time ago. And I've developed a new virtual scout that we're going to use in the new platform, and we already use to clubs when we help out in consultancy for finding players. And this new virtual scout is very good in comparing the player's role and AI detected qualities to other players in the world, and just finding matches for players that plays in a similar way, and then you can move on and do the video scouting and so on, and as a team, and find out which players in a shortlist that could be the right one. So I did that for Unabatier. It took like 2 seconds to compile, and I got this list. So this is basically a list of players in England, Spain, no, not Spain, England, Italy, France, Germany, and the women's championship, so the league below. And I included the women's championship because you have the Brexit, you need the points, you need players with a UK passport. So maybe you can find some young player to replace. I also took players that are 25 years or younger here. I don't have the age in the actual table, but just for a fact. So they are 25 or younger. And then you get the match on the right fullbacks that have like the best comparison. They don't necessarily, like with comparison, it doesn't say that, it doesn't in this sort mean that they have the same level, but in their style of play, they are the most comparable. So then you need to maybe look at the Spider players more closely and see like what level do you think they are. But from looking at this list, we know that Lynn Wilms is a very good player, for example, or Kaspari. And yeah, any names? Do you want to comment on any names, Mia?
I do think that the first name is one of the interesting players that was brought to the WSL ahead of this season, Kaspari.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm really sure we both butchered that name.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not even trying. I don't know.
That's a Dutch name. But what's also interesting here is that Lynn Wilms, Wolfsburg, perhaps, and then you have the Hoffenheim player. But I do think in some ways that scouting is about finding these diamonds. So for me, names from Southampton, Crystal Palace, Charlton Athletic, London City Lionesses, Bristol City will play in the WSL next season. Going to be very interesting to watch. And Leves. So this is, I think, if you're going to find these, what we would call in Sweden, the diamonds, then maybe a league below the WSL is a perfect place to find them. Not sure if a club like Manchester United ahead of a season where they are going to compete for a spot in the Champions League group stage would like to take the chance on a young player, though.
No, that's for sure a fact, and that's a big risk. But maybe you can find another player, and then you can have that player to develop in behind or something. I think the key is when you find interest playing a lower level is to try to find a position for development early and not wait, because then you have to pay more money if they're not coming from as a free agent, or pay a higher salary, and then it's not really as good money ball to me, because then you you got the player, but you didn't maybe do the best like money move in that sense.
Exactly.
And this is 10 names that you could like further look into with video scouting and so on. But we at Playmaker, we could provide 5 or 20, and we could find a good match for Una Battier in Japan or Mexico or Australia or Scotland or something. It's not in this list, so yeah, if you're interested, reach out. But I chose my player. She's not maybe ready to play in the Champions League yet, but I think that this 21-year-old player from Southampton is really interesting, and it's Ella Morris. Ella Morris has played both centrally on the pitch in previous, but also been playing as a very offensive fullback and acting all over the pitch. She could play as a winger, as a fullback, and I think that she has like by looking at Spider, both the defensive qualities and the offensive qualities. And like being just 21-year-old, I don't know if she's a free agent, but interesting match and good enough to play in the Women's Super League. That's my belief. But yeah.
Maybe some club will take a look at Ella Morris now, just because of this. Who knows? I think it's the scouting tool that Playmaker provides is very interesting when it can be used like that to find the similar players, obviously. And what you mentioned there, not just from England in the Women's Super League or the Championship, or even in the big 5 leagues in Europe.
Yeah.
You have the data from, you said it, Japan and Mexico and the NWSL also.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I do think from I'm very, very curious. I'm more curious about who United will replace Ona Battier with, because I do think, and that is sad also in a way, that she is a lost cause for Manchester United. She is gonna go back to where she has been baked.
Yeah, she has.
in Barcelona.
Exactly. And I mean, if you're interested to know more about the Virtual Scout or just these player cards in general, if you want to try out our platform, the player reports or the old one, or hear about the upcoming one, just reach out. And you and me, Mia, we will be back in 2 weeks, maybe talking about all the leagues ending in Europe, maybe, or something ahead of the World Cup.
Maybe next time it's time for Team Spiders or something like that, to see how have the league winners been playing in styles and whatever. And then we have a World Cup coming up. So in one of the upcoming episodes, we will probably talk about that as well, because your predictions has been quite good.
Yeah,
at that lately.
All the I feel in a good shape after predicting the right winner in women's and men's.
You're in good shape physically, because you run and you're gonna do a marathon, and then you are in a good shape with your predictions and the data.
Yeah, I jinxed it so hard for the World Cup now, but we will have a simulated outcome, and we will talk about that.
We will definitely do.
Take care, and
exactly. Till next time.
Till next time.